Hello there guys, and welcome to another Ash and Avery breakdown. And today I'm going to be talking about Ash, the relationship coach, and his American girlfriend Avery. This is 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 4, Episode 10, Cuts Both Ways. If you're new here, welcome. First up, I want to say a massive thank you, because guess what happened today? I hit 25,000 subscribers. I'm genuinely humbled. Thank you so much for subscribing, and I'm so glad that you like my content, and I'm glad I'm giving some of you some lockdown laughs. And for those of you who are yet to do so, just smash that subscribe button, and also follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. So let's get into this, because I've got an awful lot to say. But this week we had one of the funniest episodes I've ever seen, and this week TLC didn't disappoint. They gave us Ash at a so-called seminar. This was the very worst seminar I've ever seen since Jessie. Remember Jessie with the octogenarians, you guys? That still makes me laugh, you guys. Jessie crawled so Ash could run. So first up, I'd like to make a heartfelt and sincere apology for calling Ash a double glazing or car salesman. Double glazing and car salesman have some knowledge of what the F they're talking about. And I apologise for linking you in any way to Ash. So today, Ash is hosting a seminar in Melbourne, and the seminar is to help women identify who the perfect man is for them. Ash, you've got this all wrong right from the word go. We know who the perfect man is. What we need to know is 1. How to make him like us. 2. How to land him. 3. How to keep him. Knowing who the perfect person is the simple part. It's all of the rest of the bull-ish that we need help with. Avery tells us she's suspicious about how Ash conducts his business. This is because most of his customers are single women, and she tells us she won't bring him to America if she can't trust him. So as Ash and Avery strut into this seminar, there are just a few clues that it's going to be a crock of crap. The first one's the title of the seminar, Finding Mr. Right. Is that the level of your creativity? Finding Mr. Right. But then when we see this title, yes, we see, ladies and gentlemen, it's written in a Sharpie. So you couldn't even find your way to a laptop, find a decent font and press print. You couldn't do that, Ash. Just wow. And then we see there are 25 seats, and only about 10 of them or 12 of them are actually taken with clients. It doesn't bode well. So producers cheekily go to some of his clients and ask them what they're expecting of the day. They say they're excited to learn about the psychology of relationships. Oh really? Then prepare for disappointment. Next, producers go to have a quick word with Ash. And guys, this just made me laugh, because Ash tells us straight up that he's running a scam. He said, most of my work is one-on-one, but seminars are great because you're touching more people. On a monetary level, I can see the lucrativeness. Apart from the bad grasp of English, Ash is just telling us, I like to make more money, regardless of whether I'm successful or not. And he greets all the ladies and he says, oh, welcome, hi, how are you? My name's Ash. And you can tell he's used to doing the kind of meet or greet thing. And Avery's sitting at the back watching proceedings, but he's semi-flirting. I kind of feel like he'd be flirting an awful lot more if Avery wasn't there. But one of the women, he actually said, I've met you before, haven't I? I know you from somewhere before. And she said, have you? And I don't think that Ash knows who he's met before or not. I think lots of the women that he's gone out with previously are the kind of women for whom a long-term relationship is breakfast in the morning. Anyway, he begins. Good morning, ladies. I'm going to tell you a few things I've put together today. Just to let you know a few things of my thoughts. And guys, this is how he was talking. Now, I don't know if you guys know my background. I read law at university, and then I worked in the city for a number of years, and then I set up a training business which I had for 15 or so years. So when I was working in the city, I used to give lots of presentations and train large groups of people, and then obviously I went into my own training business, and so I've always been quite confident at public speaking. But the one thing that I know is that regardless of what I'm talking about, even if I know it like the back of my hand, I need bullet points, because with the snap of a finger, you can forget exactly your train of thought or what you were saying. Even when I do these videos, I'm sitting reading from notes, and whenever I try to do something without the use of notes, it's literally all over the place. So this is the first problem. The second problem that I see is you've got a lot of women, and they're obviously hoping to find their perfect partner, hoping that you can help them in their quest. So for some of these women, I guess it's going to be quite a big deal. And it kind of seems as if you couldn't even be bothered to put together any sort of presentation for them. You didn't give them any notes, any handouts. You haven't even got cue cards. Nothing. So he begins. Women don't understand the ways in which a man's brain works. Women's and men's brains are completely different. And one of the delegates says, you talk about men and women being completely different, but do you realise that we all have masculine and feminine inside us? And Ash just said, correct. And then carried on babbling about men and women being completely different. And the delegate said she can see that straight away he's completely out of his depth. And honestly, he looked like a little kid doing show and tell for the first time. Now, I'm not saying the teachers at school thought that Ash was an idiot, but they felt it might be kinder to hold him back for a year or so. He continues, if you think of the brain of a man, there's many different boxes, and men think of things separately. If you think of the brain of a woman, everything's interlinked, and men have a nothing box. Yes, Ash, some of those nothing boxes are bigger than others, and that's why a man can go fishing for 6 hours. With women, something really small tends to get really big. They just want to get into our nothing box and start decorating. Oh Lord. So obviously the women in the audience decide to challenge Ash on this. And Ash started stuttering, lost his train of thought, and so he ran over to his phone. I swear to God, I think he was Googling some information to back up his crackpot ideas. When he returned from his iPhone, all of the women had their heads cocked petulantly to one side. He continues, the male is more logical, so men and women, they never really understand. There's a few stuffs going on in my mind at the moment. I'm going a bit crazy. I need a moment. And he races out of the room. How can you race out of the room in the middle of a presentation? What, you couldn't even say, bear with me for a moment, ladies. I just need a quick toilet break. Everyone take a breather and I'll see you in 2 minutes. So Avery follows after him and Avery said, I can't believe this, Ash. All of this talk is completely sexist. And at this point I'll say yes and no. To be quite honest, there are differences between men and women and the way that we operate in the world around us. There are differences. This is undeniable. But basically, it's the classic nature-nurture debate. Who knows whether we're born the same and society puts it upon us, or who knows whether we're biologically just different. And psychologists and scientists have never managed to come to any final conclusion on this, and I guess it's probably a mixture of both. However, Avery is dead set on the fact that this is completely sexist. But what I really picked up on is, Ash, if you knew anything about psychology, and I read psychology to A level, if you knew anything, even just the basics of psychology, you would be able to just counter Avery with the fact of, regardless whether it's nature or nurture, men and women do operate differently in the world, and I'm trying to help these women navigate with what's happening here, not how it should be or how we'd like it to be or how it is ideally, but how usually it is. But it just strikes me that Ash, because he can't make any of these points to either the women or to Avery, if you know nothing about psychology, how can you be a relationship coach? How do these two things marry up? So anyway, Avery and Ash are in the office and she was like, what was that? And he said, oh my God, I just completely effed it all up. Yeah, you did, Ash. And there's no bringing that one back as far as I'm concerned. But meanwhile, outside, all the delegates are having a conversation on just how rubbish Ash was. Some of them, they thought he was totally rubbish, whilst others, they thought he was completely rubbish. A few of them thought he was utterly rubbish. But they were all agreed on one thing. Ash was a big old bag of rubbish. Avery tries to reassure Ash and she gives him a plan of action. She says, go outside and tell them about the 5 love languages. And then Avery says to us, she feels like he didn't prepare properly for the seminar. So Ash comes back in. He tells the women 3 of the 5 love languages, and then he starts babbling again, and he says it's for women to work out what a man's love language is, because men usually don't know. And then he started saying women are usually really emotional and men are usually really logical. And Avery's sitting at the back absolutely fuming. And again she tells producers it's a deal breaker if Ash doesn't agree with her on gender roles. Avery, consider the deal broken then. And Ash continues digging his own grave. Your grandfather went out working and providing, and your grandmother stayed in the home and tended to the children. And the women were in the home and they were happy. Oh really, Ash? The only time I see women happy are when you are nowhere near. So you must have for each relationship a feminine and a masculine energy. This is the only thing that can create passion. If you do not have a balance of masculine and feminine, you're just attracting a friend. And so when one of the delegates said to him, but I have masculine and feminine energy, and I've had partners that have had both as well, and we've had great sexual chemistry. He turned all defensive, and whenever they challenged him on anything, or even asked him for further clarification or asked him for questions, he was unable to answer properly. And at one point he actually said to one of the women, "No, that's just in your mind. The reality is," and then he went on to create his own reality. Ash, you don't even know this lady. Guys, I'm not saying the Ash so-called seminar went on too long, but human civilization ended in the middle of it. For the love of God, let this be over. And at the end I did breathe a sigh of relief. And Ash said, "Any other questions?" Yeah. How do I get my money back? Honestly, I hope you put more effort into writing your terms and conditions and refund policy than you did into writing your seminar. Otherwise, the lucrativeness of this whole debacle will be a lot less than you planned, Ash. Next week, how to grind the feminist out of your girlfriend, safety boots included. You guys, Ash is nothing but a joker. So next time we see them, Avery says she's feeling very uncomfortable, and she asked Ash, "How do you feel it went?" And Ash said, "Not as I imagined. People did not understand what I was trying to say, and I wasn't able to share what I wanted to share." Ash, let's be really real. You've been taking silly quotes off Pinterest and firing them at random women over the internet, and one-on-one, they probably haven't picked you up on it, or if they have, nobody really knows because it's a one-on-one scenario. Once the TV cameras and quite a few women were together, you were unpicked real quick. So it's interesting to me, guys, that Avery's mainly interested, I think, about the fact that he's potentially sexist, and I think she's also low-key worried that he shags his delegates, which of course he does usually. What Avery's main concern should be, in my mind, is the fact that Ash is an idiot. Why wasn't she worried about the fact that he literally doesn't know what he's talking about? It doesn't matter if you disagree with somebody. I disagree with people about politics and socioeconomics, gender roles, all sorts of different things. But I have great conversations with my friends. They come with some facts, I come with some facts. You can disagree with anybody if the person you're talking to has valid points to back up their point of view. I can even debate with conspiracy theorists. But Ash doesn't seem to have any facts at his disposal or any ways of actually making his point and backing that up with either classic theories or even anecdotal theories. And so guys, it's come to my attention that Ash is of below average intelligence. And one of my subscribers put me onto something this morning which was the most interesting thing I've read possibly all year, the Dunning-Kruger effect. So in the Dunning-Kruger effect, people overestimate their mental ability and they overestimate their skill levels, which I definitely think applies to Ash. And it's not only that people are incompetent, but their incompetence robs them of the mental ability to realise just how inept they are. And I think that this effect applies to Ash more than anyone I've ever known. He thinks he can say a few stock phrases and people will be bamboozled by his intelligence. No, they won't, Ash. From the moment you first spoke, we all said, "Where were you educated?" When people ask you immediately, "What are your credentials?" it means, I know that you do not know what you're talking about. So people who perform poorly within their field of so-called expertise overestimate their abilities. And they also are too stupid to realise that we realise that they're idiots. And that's definitely Ash. So thank you so much to the subscriber that said that. I didn't know how relevant it was going to be until I'd actually read up on it a few hours later, so I didn't commit your name to memory. I'm so sorry. So getting back to the story, Avery said, "Why do you get so defensive when people ask you questions?" And of course Ash didn't answer her. He said, "Right, you're expressing that, so I have to be mindful of that." And he tells production, "She wants me to say that I was wrong, and in actual fact I was not wrong." Ash, you were wrong. You were taking money from desperate people and you were saying that you were going to help them and that you had the ability to help them when you know very well that you do not. That's as wrong as can be. One thing that I absolutely hate are all these internet gurus. So it's people talking about psychology or relationships as if they really know what they're talking about when they do not. When people are paying you for you to advise them as a human being on how to better attract a partner, you better be giving them something, Ash. And Ash said, "Whatever I say, Avery's not listening to me. Everything's my fault now." Ash, everything is your fault. If not yours, then whose? And so Ash decides to walk away. So a relationship coach, at the very first problem in his relationship, decides he's going to walk away. He addresses none of the questions that Avery asked him. He's utterly delusional. The only thing that Ash gave as a masterclass in today was how best to turn paying customers into disgruntled haters, because that's exactly what he did. So that's everything for this week. So what do I think about all of this? 1. I think Ash did a very quick course, relationship coaching, maybe a week or a 4-week course in life or relationship coaching, and now he thinks I'm a fully fledged relationship coach. I don't believe that Ash reads regularly. Ash doesn't seem to know even the basic psychological theories. I was quite surprised when I heard about this Kruger-Dunning theory, but I realised the Ebird's even older than she thought, because I studied psychology back in the mid-90s. Yep, that's right, before some of you were even born. And this theory didn't come out till I think 1999. So even if you have studied something, you need to continually read in that field, if that's the field that you are working in, and if that's the field that you are taking money from people in. 2, Ash didn't prepare, and he's not a good speaker. Those two things combined together spell disaster. 3, let's be real, Ash is running a scam. Some people say that he's a high-class escort. No, I'm not convinced about that. Not one person has come forward to say, yes, I paid Ash for sex. And so I think he's just running the oldest scam in the book, and there's loads of them on these YouTube streets. I'm quite good looking, I'm quite engaging. How do you get a guy like me, a successful guy? Well, if you listen to me, I'll tell you. And then they rehash some old bollocks that we've all seen on the internet for many years. Number 4 is that Ash is in the whole scam for money. He said, usually I work one-on-one, but the lucrativeness of a seminar is what draws me to it. I don't believe for a second that Ash actually wants to help women. And the main reason I think this is because Ash sleeps with loads of his clients. Most psychologists, psychotherapists, and anyone with any scruples whatsoever draws a line at sleeping with their client base. Ash has no such line. In fact, it's a breeding ground for Ash's next girlfriend. Number 5, Ash speaks gobbledygook most of the time. He never ever answers questions. When he was in this seminar and people were firing different things at him and firing theories at him, he was unable to cope with it. And that's why we saw him scuttle out of the room like a little cockroach, and he went into total breakdown mode. Ash, you have to realise the more people you try to scam at one time, the more chance you've got of getting caught, because they all sit and chat to each other, and all of the women in that seminar were all talking when you scuttled out. You didn't stand a chance. And then my final point for this video, Avery didn't really get to the bottom of the problem. Sexism is the least of Avery's problems with Ash. Her main problem is that she's dealing with 1, an idiot, and 2, someone that doesn't know anything about psychology, anything about relationships, and who can't even run a very basic seminar. Why would you want to be with someone who's so inept at what they claim to be amazing at? Wasn't your embarrassment level sky high? I watched this with my partner, and we both cringed and cackled our way through the whole of this. It's taken me all day to actually do the vocals for this because I've been laughing so much. It was absolutely terrible. Doesn't that embarrass you, Avery? That should be your main concern, that you're with a nincompoop. So let me know what you think. On Ash's part, do you think it's ineptitude, or do you think he's just running a good old scam? And do you think that Avery is genuinely worried about him being sexist, or do you think she's just really worried about the fact that he's quite clearly shagging around? And it's also shone a light on Ash that if he doesn't know what he's talking about, why has he made a living from this, and why is he so successful? Because he's shagging the client base. And by the time they get round to the conclusion that actually he doesn't know what they're talking about, they're 3 shags deep. So let me know what you think in comments down below. Guys, thank you again for my 25,000. This is a momentous day. And if you haven't done so already, please just press that red subscribe button and follow me on Twitter at Ebird99. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.